welcome back. Prince Caspian review. So, with this one, I kind of knew what was going on again, mostly because there was a movie about it. I know this one's one of the ones that had a decent amount of changes, but there are 15 chapters this time. They are getting longer, by the way. We have the island, the ancient treasure house, the dwarf. The dwarf tells of Prince Caspian's adventure in the mountains. Lived in hiding, old Narnia in danger, how they left the island, what Lucy saw, the return of the lion's roar, sorcery and sudden vengeance, the High King in command, how they were all very busy, and Aslan makes a door in thin air. So, our main characters in this one, you got the four Pevensies. So, Peter, Susan, Edmund, Lucy. You have Aslan, obviously, King Miraz, Prince Caspian, and then there's Truffle Hunter and the other two dwarves that I can't remember their names off the top of my head. But honestly, this started out different than the movies, because in the movies they have his aunt giving birth. Very traumatic. When I went in as a child, I thought I was seeing the wrong movie because I was expecting Narnia. Why is someone giving birth? But no. It starts off more or less where we have the children getting ready to board a train, and they get called into Narnia. So, yeah, that was fun. They get called into Narnia. They explore. They're on this island. They gotta go try and change. Get some food because it's C.S. Lewis. There's gotta be a mention of food. Yeah. So much food. They're getting real sick of apples because they had accidentally planted an orchard of apples. So, they have that. That's all well and good. They're able to eat. They're able to eventually find their old treasury stuff because they find Paravel, but it's in ruins. They didn't immediately know that that's their old home. How would you? In their world, they were only gone a year. And sure, time moves differently, but last time it was only like a day or so. Whenever Lucy first went in, and then, you know, eventually it was only a few seconds, more or less, even a few minutes, whenever they got back from being old, so they don't know how time works. But to see their old home in ruins, that would have been chilling. I was only gone a year, and now suddenly my home's gone. Everyone that I know and love is gone. Mr. Tumnus, the beavers, they're gone. That was heartbreaking. Again, I knew it was going to happen because I seen the movie first, but that had to be hard. Eventually, they find the dwarf. I gotta try and find his name because he's important. I can't think. By the way, this is what he looks like in the books. Yeah, he does not look like Peter Dinklage. That's something, alright. Again, a lot of smoking. So that's something. For the life of me, I don't know why they keep calling him Dwarf. He had a name. I'm just gonna call him Peter Dinklage until I find it. So, they free him because obviously he was caught, and they was gonna just drown him because Telmarines don't like water. I wonder why. Why don't they like water? So, I have to pause this. Not me using the internet because that was faster. Trumpkin tells them, oh yeah, it's time for a story, gather around. So they don't immediately set off. They gotta go through the story. But before the story, they have that sword fight, which if you remember from the movies, you have Trumpkin versus Edmund because he doesn't want Peter to fight in case he loses, and then, you know, the High King can't do a sword fight. He kicks his butt. Hilarious. But they cut out in the movie version the fact that he also did archery with Susan. Obviously she wins. It's Susan, she's great at archery. So there was that. And then he goes on to tell them the story of Caspian and how he escaped. So then we move over to Caspian's point of view. We have him growing up. There's this nurse that told him about Narnia, and then she got fired because Miraz is like, yeah, we're not doing that. He's king. He's king pretty much immediately. Not like in the movies where he becomes king after Caspian runs off to join the Narnians. So, but at that point he still doesn't have a child of his own. So he's just content being king while he's living, and then, you know, passing it to Caspian as he grows up. Eventually he does have the heir that he's been seeking all along, and now Caspian's life is in danger. The professor, who is doctor in this, tells him, hey, yeah, everything you know is right, run. What are they doing over there? I'm gonna have to probably pause again. My bad. Just know that anytime I have to leave, it's probably this one's fault. She was trying to get herself killed. She wasn't doing anything all that bad, but she was messing with Grammy's curtains. And that's going to get her killed, because Gammy would do a murder if she ruined those curtains. Technically, it would not be the first time that those curtains have been destroyed by my cats, but, like, you know, I don't want my child to die. Where was I? Yes. So, they read the stars, they go stargazing, and he tells them, now's the time, your aunt's had a child, it's a son, run. He gets the horn, and he goes. He doesn't immediately blow that horn, by the way. Because in the movie, he's running through the woods, being chased by a ton of people, and then he blows that horn, and that's when the Pevensies eventually come. But he does not. He actually doesn't do it for a very long time. Now, that difference I was surprised about. Because again, going in, I knew the movie version. Still a good version. All of the movies are still good, but you know, differences. So, that happened. He does meet Trumpkin, and he meets everybody else. What's wrong with you over there, child? He doesn't meet Reepicheep immediately either, which I noticed. So that was interesting. Ooh, ow, my neck. If you don't know who Reepicheep is, a very, very, very formidable foe on the battlefield, but he's a gigantic mouse. And it's stated that because he's a talking mouse, that's why he's so big. He's not like the other ones who are dumb and small, basically. They gather up all of the faithful. They go to where the stone table is, but it's now been covered over. That's still very well in the movie. And they eventually have to have this fight. I didn't know that they were fighting before the Pevensies showed up, because if you know anything about the movie version, Pevensies show up, and that means that they go on a little adventure, and then they find Caspian, and then they try to do this raid on the castle because the professor, doctor, whoever he is still at the castle, and Caspian wants to just, you know, he doesn't know at that point that Miraz in the movie had killed his dad. He does know in the books long before this. So they plan that raid, and then it goes poorly. My mother hates that scene so much, and it's nowhere in this book. The raid on the castle does not exist, and they just did that to mess with people's heartstrings, and I was not happy with that, finding out that that was not an actual thing that happened. So much hurt could have been avoided. Mild trauma, but you know, Knickerbrick is being a pain. That's the other dwarf, but there still is no thing there. So Caspian has to figure out what to do because they've had to retreat back into the little like, cave. His uncle's army's winning, and then he decides to blow the horn, and he sends a squirrel off in one direction to see if they arrived at Lantern's Waste, which is where they arrived the first time, and then we have Trumpkin, who goes off to go and see if maybe they're at the ruins of Cair Paravel. Safer bet, because, you know, it's now an island, and Telmarines don't like water. Obviously, they showed up at Cair Paravel, and we're back now to that time after he got captured and nearly drowned. Cool. So, they also fear the woods, which is always fun. But yeah, the Telmarines are not the brightest. They find the Narnians. And yeah, after a while on this journey, Lucy sees Aslan off in the distance, but they don't believe her. So they head to Bruna, I believe, is where it's at. And they notice that, hey, yeah, we can't cross that way. We're going to have to go back the way that Lucy said to get to the stone table. And they, one by one, start to see him. Even Trumpkin sees him before the end of the battle. Which, if you've seen the movie version, that's not necessarily what happens. He waits until the battle is over, and then he sees Aslan. And Lucy's like, you see him now? And that's a great scene, but that didn't happen. Not in the book. Again, still good. Still good. We have the scene where Knickerbrick has the, like, hag and the werewolf try to tempt Caspian to bring back the White Witch. And then, you know, Peter and Edmund come in, they deal with the White Witch, but she's not fully there like in the movie. Because she's in, like, this thing of ice in the movie. But they didn't get that far in the book. I wish they would have, actually. That's one of the things from the movie that I wish they would have kept in the book, for sure. Because I liked that whole Peter needs to come to his senses, and Edmund's the one that destroys the witch in the movie. That would have been great if they kept that part in the book. But they didn't. It be what it be. Eventually, you know, Peter goes off to fight Miraz. The whole betrayal thing happens. And they keep on with the war, but Aslan shows up. The trees help, and they win the day. Hooray! There is a scene that I didn't quite understand. That's just them going through town, telling people, and there's this weird dude with his friends. I didn't quite understand that part, but they eventually bring the nurse back to Caspian. She was sick, but now she's well. Thanks to Lucy and Aslan. Cool. Touching moments all around. So that's how they were very busy. And then we get to the point where it's the end, and eventually the Pevensies have to go back. But Aslan opens up this door for the Telmarines to return to the island that they came from our world. Because they were originally pirates that ended up on an island, and they fell in love with the women, and eventually they all ended up here, and that's when we had Caspian the First, and eventually, you know, Caspian the First, you know what I mean. That's one of the loopholes for Caspian to become one of the kings that can sit on Cair Paravel's throne as one of the sons of Adam. And everything will be right in the world. Eventually, his aunt does go through, I believe. I know she does in the movie. I know quite a few people go, but not too many. Rupert Sheep offers to go, but his declined. And the Pevensies returned home with the whole thing that Susan and Peter can't come back because they've grown up too much. Sad times. Honestly, they should have stayed a little bit longer, in my opinion. Susan could have used a little extra time in Narnia. Just saying. Maybe she could have went on Dawn Treader's voyage as well. But, yeah. That is more or less what happened there. Would I read again? Yeah, probably. Star-wise, I'm going to go 4.5. It was good. I won't lie. But I don't know. I really wish they would have kept that scene with the White Witch. Them showing up at the battle was a little weird. Seeing that I'm used to the version where, you know, attack the castle! Sadness beforehand. But yeah, it was overall good. And now I get to go on to book number 6. 6? No. Why are you there? They're out of order. It should be book 5. Dawn Treader. That's next. See you soon.